To be in the top 1%, you have to do what 99% of others won't. Yeah. If you're running a business and care enough about growing it to even be watching this video, you've probably already done more than everyone around you. The top 1% of business owners aren't getting swept away learning Claude Code or the latest Instagram funnel like the gurus want you to think. They simply think clearer than 99% of other business owners. That's why in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 mental shifts the top 1% make that our clients have used to quickly become recognized leaders in their space, how thinking in these new ways allows them to get ahead of everyone else, and finally, the biggest reason 99% of business owners stay stuck playing catch up no matter how hard they push. Firstly, if you're not getting as many clients online as you like, it's probably because you're not visible to them, meaning they haven't actually seen your content yet. And honestly, can you blame them? Most of the time I open up social media, I want to come straight off it. And I'm going to go out on a limb and make an assumption that between Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you're posting on at least one of them. The problem is, so are the other 99% of business owners that you're up against. And unless you're already famous or have a big team behind you, how do you expect to get ahead of 99% of people when you're doing the exact same thing as all of them? Saying you want to be ahead of 99% of business owners, yet using social media to get ahead, is kind of like saying you want to get from one city to another faster than everyone else who's traveling that day, but then taking a car. No matter how fast you drive or what car you're in, you're still roughly going at the same speed as everyone else, stuck in the same traffic, and will probably get there along with everyone else. However, if you take a plane, then there's no contest anymore. It's a different vehicle entirely. And that's why to get ahead of 99% of business owners, you need to think about this more clearly than the other 99%. Because while everyone else is thinking about how to become more visible on the same platforms as everyone else, the top 1% are thinking about which platforms their competitors don't even know about. And these are the places where they can quickly gain visibility without endless competition and noise. Which begs the question, which platforms have the highest volume of users with the lowest competition? For example, Apple Podcasts and Spotify for the business owners who have audio podcasts, because the numbers show that podcasting has a tiny little fraction of the competition you'll find on social media. Even LinkedIn, which is the smallest social media platform, has over 67 million active accounts, whereas there are only 400,000 active podcasts. So you see what I mean about the competition. And the point here isn't to sell you that you need a podcast, at least not for this video. The point is to start thinking about where you can show up to your prospects that no one else is doing. Go where your competitors aren't, and visibility stops being a fight and starts being an advantage. By the way, the key word here is advantage, not savior, because we once had a client who paid to be advertised on a billboard in Times Square and still didn't grow a business. Because visibility only makes you money if what you're offering is actually worth stopping for. And you will know this if you've ever had your content reach more people than expected, but then still be left with less conversions than a Jehovah's Witness in Salt Lake City. Without an offer that gets you ahead of 99% of business owners, no amount of visibility will save you. And most business owners go years getting clients, great results, but never fully understanding what makes an offer better for a specific person than 99% of all the other options. In fact, I'm going to take it a little bit further. Most business owners are actually disrespecting their prospects by putting them in such a box. They offer something like, I help people become better leaders, assuming that their prospects are just leaders and that's it. And they completely disrespect the fact that humans are complex and we wear many hats. There are thousands of prospects who are leaders, and each one has their own nuances. One might be a leader who has just learned English as a second language and is struggling with their communication skills. And another one might also be struggling with their communication skills, but not because of their English, because they're a massive introvert. And you might even have another leader who is struggling with their leadership, not because they can't communicate, but because they're not getting taken seriously as one of the only women in a male-led workspace. So to get ahead of 99% of business owners, the top 1% who have an offer better than the rest really understand this nuance. They have thought about it from the prospect's holistic point of view that goes well beyond their occupation, their gender, or any other kind of surface level demographic. They've instead formed an offer that speaks to that person and the entirety of their situation way more specifically than 99% of other offers. For example, I help female managers get promoted at work through mastering influence in male-dominated workspaces, or helping leaders with English as a second language master communication to get promoted. The principle is this: you don't get into the top 1% of offers by getting clients great results. That's really a prerequisite. You get there by being more relevant to one specific type of person than everyone else is. And when you address a person on a deeper level and speak to as much of their specific nuanced situation as you can, you become hyper relevant to them. And at that point, all the offers they've seen become very much irrelevant in comparison. So stop competing with everyone else and start being the only obvious choice for someone, an individual, someone with a heart, a family, but not just a crowd. Now, between choosing a platform that makes you more visible than 99% of business owners and having an offer that is more specific than 99% of your market, I think we've got a pretty compelling case here on how to get ahead of 99% of business owners. But there's one other factor that has become increasingly more important in the last couple of years that most business owners simply haven't caught up with yet. And it's also the biggest reason why you can be visible to your prospect, have an offer that got them to speak to you, but still be left with the good old, I need to think about it. So let's quickly look at the current landscape of the internet, right? It's 2026, and the average person online has now already bought the course, hired the coach, or tried the service that didn't really match their expectations. And so in this era where trust is just so important, 99% of business owners are still trying to build trust the same way that everyone else is. And when everyone else includes celebrities who've been building trust for decades, 99% just end up playing catch up, but never actually catching up, let alone getting ahead. Look, we can compare building trust to digging a mile into the ground. It's a bit of a random analogy, but stay with me, right? You are here, and the people who are taking your sales because they have more trust are here. They got there by digging with a spade for the last 10 years. You can't catch them up if you're also digging with a spade. You have to go and get a digger so that when others dig with a spade and go a yard deeper each time, your same dig with the digger gets you like 10 yards deeper each time. Now, in this case, the spade is social media. Firstly, because it's what 99% of people use to try and build trust. And secondly, because as a tool, it's just tiny. Every post gives your prospects only 30 seconds with you. So here are the diggers the top 1% are using to get ahead of everyone else with building trust. Firstly, there's writing a book. Because when someone reads your book, they spend hours with you and will trust you way more than months of social media content. Secondly, a YouTube channel. Let's say someone watches even just one of your videos, it massively outlaps weeks of short form social media posts. And by the time they even watch 4, they could trust you more than enough to buy from you, of course, if your offer is specific to them. The one problem with YouTube though, is that on average, viewers only stay for less than half of your video. That shocked me when I found out, but actually when you think about it, it's not personal to you, it's very much by YouTube's design. Because while they watch it, there's another 5 videos jumping out of them on the sidebar, which is why the top 1% of business owners are taking advantage of audio podcasts, because the average listen time is above 80%. And of course, that means that every piece of content gets you twice as deep when building trust as YouTube does. So if you want to quickly see if an audio podcast could be the missing piece to get you ahead of 99% of business owners and make building an audience and getting clients through content way easier, then watch this video next.